Hello, this is Evelyn Churan from Churan's Tiny Homestead. Well, I put a couple of additions onto the property. I'm putting electric heater coils on the roof for the winter because this is actually a barn that's turned into a tiny home. And when you're burning wood, it builds ice and then snow, and it gets too heavy on the building. So I'm adding electrical heater coils that are cost efficient and only work when they have to work. They have an automatic shut off on their own. They plug in for the winters, unplug for the summers. So that's one addition that'll be installed in September. The other addition is I bought a sauna. Now, why did I buy a sauna instead of putting a well? Well, I'll tell you why. To put in a well, it's about $25,000. It's about another $10,000, and I'd have to put an additional building to build a bathroom. And with that, or a shower. And with that, they want a field bed and a septic tank for gray water. I'm not going to build a septic tank for gray water. That's you're looking at another $100,000 to finish the build. It's not worth it. So the sauna was $7,200 delivered and set up. So all I do is put a couple of pieces of wood in, start a fire, put my bucket of water in there. I bought a handheld rechargeable $60 shower. The sauna heats up my water for me where it's lukewarm, not hot. And by the time I get into the sauna, I take a lukewarm shower, shampoo, clean myself up, and then sit in the sauna. So, $7,200 from 75,000 to 100,000 in the build is a far cry. I had to weigh out what I could afford, and I need a shower in the winters. I can't be sponge bathing anymore, and I had to do what was affordable for me in my income. I'm just wondering what you guys would have done in my situation. Unfortunately, a lot of things have changed in cost, and what used to be five or $10,000 to do are now 25 to 30 to 35,000. I've priced everywhere. I cannot put a sand point on my property because my water is 350 feet underground, and I have to go through clay and bedrock to get a well. With all due respect, I can't dig that by myself, and there is no sand point. With a sand point, also with clay, you're taking a really high risk of salmonella and all kinds of other bacteria, and I'm just not willing to take that risk with my water. So for now, I stick with potable water that is brought in. I've got 3 totes. I cover them up with a tote cover. I have a water transfer station. I fill up 3 totes and 3 barrels of potable water when it's delivered for $175 every 4 months. So I only need it 3 times a year for $175. So for me, it's more cost efficient. I am a pensioner. I'm not rich. And any savings I did have, I lost with being juggled around so many times with my career. I should have been a millionaire by now, but things didn't work out that way for me. So to invest into this property, I can only invest so much and pay it off. I have to pay it off by next year. I did find another lender to buy out the last owners. They cost me an awful lot of money. They were constantly calling building inspectors and having the place checked out, stocking the property, the list goes on. I had to buy them out with a higher interest rate just to get them out of my life. They were driving me nuts. So I bought them out. I have to pinch pennies for another year, really pinch pennies to pay off the property so I don't have to take another loan. And then it's going to probably take me another 2 years to bank all of my money again in order to get a well. And I'd like to live a little bit. I only spent $70 in gas from last September to this year in June. I didn't have to go out for supplies until June. And I didn't go until I had to sign the lawyer's papers. So When you buy a property, you have to pay for the lawyers, you have to pay for their lawyers, you got to pay the fees, you got to pay the lender's fees, the list goes on. You got to pay the interest. So even though I only needed $25,000, it ends up costing you an extra $10,000 in interest rate and lender's fees. And there's nothing you can do about it because that's just the way that our government works. They just take, and you're not going to get ahead that way. So the way I see it is I pay this place off whether I have a well or not. I did the mathematics on my overhead per month, and I'm talking about my water, my hydro, my internet, and my house insurance. I'm not including food, transportation, or my truck insurance. My overhead cost will be $298 a month. So this year I bought 30 cords of hardwood, maple, and birch, I think white birch, because I only put hardwood in my wood stove, and now I'm good with wood. It cost me $4,300 at $115 a cord. I don't pay tax because I'm over 55, but I do have to pay the delivery charge, and I have to stack it or hire kids to stack it. But I'm good with wood for the next 5 years. I don't have that as a bill anymore. I can also use hydro rather than using wood. And I got a feeling it's going to be a short winter this year because we had a really long winter last year. It just dragged on and on and on. But either way, I still had 5 cords left over from 3 years ago. So I actually only used 25 cords in 3.5 years. So that's pretty good. I'd like to keep it down to 5 cords a year, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I can make it last for 6 years. But either way, I'm going to hire people. I stacked 10 cords. I have 20 more cords coming. I'm hiring 2 kids to stack it for me at like $20 an hour. So it's worth it to pay the kids. I'm 61 years old this year, so that's a little bit of an expense. And then I have people cutting the grass, and I have a plow truck that comes in. But my overhead cost for 12 months a year, if I don't spend $298 a month, my following year, I can pay all of my bills a year in advance. So that's what my cost is coming out to. My hydro use in the summer, spring, fall is only $30 a month. In the winter, it's $60 a month. My delivery charges supersede my use of hydro. Food-wise, I do lots and lots of canning. I buy lots of things on sale, and I'm growing a lot of my own produce. Except for celery and tomatoes this year, I did all my greens like spinach, kale, mustard, green onions, like chives. I've got broccoli growing. I've got cucumbers growing. I've got zucchini growing, things like that. I plant stuff that's hardy. But outside of those, I tried to do it from seed, and only 1 or 2 things came up, and it's still not growing. And outside of that, my turnip has taken off like a bad weed. My kale, I already harvested half of it yesterday, cleaned it up, dried it, and froze it because I can saute it with spinach and onions and garlic and stuff like that. And I'm stocked up with food for a year and a half. I've got one more. My first grocery trip was June 4th, the day that I had to sign all the lawyers' paperwork. And, June 5th. And I didn't leave my home since last September because I don't have to. My truck stays parked. I don't go anywhere. People know where I am. If they want to come and see me, they're welcome to, but I'm not gallivanting around in the winter. I stopped driving in the winter 25, 30 years ago. I don't like it. And I don't work. So why drive around in it? Why risk myself if I don't have to? And why be out on the highway if I don't like driving on it? I absolutely hate driving now. I've been in camps probably 30 years not driving. So my truck is brand new. So I use it for the property, and I use it to go get supplies with a second driver and a babysitter for my dog. And then it stays parked. I have no problem staying home and not having people around. And the only people I really want around is my family and my closest, dearest friends. And anybody else, I really don't want anybody here. I like my space. I've spent my whole life around thousands and thousands of people, and I've had to share bunks with people I didn't even know. I had to take showers after people I don't even know, and it turned me off. And I like being alone and having my privacy and my peace and quiet, and that's, to me, that's freedom right there. And so yeah, so I decided to go with a sauna instead of a well, because I would have had to taken out a higher loan from the banks, the lenders, and with a higher interest rate. And I just didn't want to go that way. I'm trying not to be in debt at all whatsoever. So by next year, I will be debt free, and then my overhead cost will be $298 a month, which is what my goal is. The whole point of living off grid or semi off grid, I had to go with hydro, because the solar panels and all that stuff, like, you need to understand electricity, and like an electrician does or whatever. I'm 60 years old. I'm just not willing to learn that. For the $30 a month hydro bill, while with delivery charges about $70 a month, I'd rather pay the $70 a month than fiddle with all kinds of electrical stuff and cleaning off solar panels every time it snows and stuff. Like, I'm too old for that stuff. If I was 21, maybe, but I'm beyond that phase. I don't need to be with the in crowd. And I don't care what other people think. I refuse to be a prisoner of other people's opinions of me. I could care less. I've done a lot of growing within myself by going out west and working in the oil sands. I've learned a lot about off-grid living or being in the bush, and how to take care of myself and how to stay safe. If I feel that something is unsafe, I'll call the police, or I'll get a message out on my Facebook, and they'll get the police here for me in a heartbeat. I've got friends that work for 911. I got friends that are firefighters. I can just say, get the police to Evelyn's. I can't talk, and turn off the computer, close my curtains, lock my door, and stand here with my baseball bat till the police arrive. Plus, I have a big German Shepherd. I don't want people to know my dog. There's only certain people that get to meet my dog, and I don't want anybody around my dog. I don't want my dog to be friendly with everybody, because if it's somebody that pretends to be your friend, and then they get where your dog knows them, and then they turn around and attack you, that's not a good thing. I want my dog to be my family pet, my four-legged son, and my guard dog. I was going to register him as a service dog, but I'm not ready to do that yet. Plus, I lost his dog tag somewhere. I don't know, got caught in the trees. It came off of his collar. They don't make them the way they used to. But the other thing I'm doing is I'm fixing the landing, because the people that built this place before, I tore all the paper off to see what's underneath. And oh my goodness, I have a lot of work ahead of me. We weren't able to check the property properly when I bought it, because it was full of garbage. It was like a dump. I'm dealing with building inspectors this week that are just rude, and I have no use for them. But whatever. They can do their jobs, but they better give warning before they come, because my dog will jump all over them, and I'm not going to stop him from doing it, because I don't know who you are and I don't care. And there's no trespassing signs, and there's German Shepherd guard dog signs. So if they trespass on my property without permission, well, you get what you came for. Don't get out of your car. Outside of that, I bought myself a post digger. So that's an addition. And I learned how to use it this week. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to dig posts right around my property for fencing by myself. I might have to hire my son to come and help me with it, and my grandson, but we'll see what happens. I don't have the posts for the fencing yet, but I would like to fence off the whole property with a 10-foot high fence, because I'm allowed to go 10 feet high. I fall under unorganized township. So some laws are a little bit different than in the city. Not much, though. You still got to follow bylaws, and you still have to follow building codes. You can't just go do whatever you want. You still have to have an electrician checking things and whatever. I'd also like to build a cold storage down below the front of my house with a deck on top and a door that goes down below, also for a tornado shelter. We get a lot of tornadoes here, and this is a barn that is sitting on deck blocks. So if something ever happens with a big storm, I have absolutely no place to go on this property. And I never took that into consideration at the time that I bought it, but I couldn't find anything else to buy. Everything I looked at would have had to been gutted or torn down. It just wasn't livable, and neither was this. So this was like half the price of what a house was starting at, actually a quarter of the price of what houses were starting at. So cost of living wise, this was the smarter way to go still. Now, I've spent a lot of money, but I had some really bad contractors. And, well, once bitten, twice shy. And I'm trying to learn how to do stuff on my own. I have an awful lot of injuries from work, and repetitive work hurts, like any kind of work hurts. And, I'm 60 years old too, and I spent 40 years on my legs. Nonstop. I barely got lunch breaks, barely got to eat. I was down to 85 pounds. Now I'm about 125 to 30 pounds. But when I first left, I got very, very sick, and I ballooned from medication. I gained 100 pounds in under 6 months from pills that I was having to take. And I stopped taking those pills because I had shortness of breath, and I ballooned 100 pounds. So now I've lost the majority of that weight. I go swimming in my kiddie pool. It's not even 4 feet deep, maybe 3.5 feet deep, but it's enough for me to swim around in circles and cool off in the summer. And then I have the sauna. So when I don't light up the sauna to cool off my dog, if he won't come in the swimming pool, I take a bucket of cold water to the sauna. I bring him in the sauna, and I shower him down to cool him off and refreshen him. So he doesn't need a groomer. He gets wet probably once a week. He has jumped into the pool by himself, but he can't get back out by himself. So I have to keep the harness on him and lift him out. But outside of that, me and the dog are doing great. And he's my partner in crime. He helps me with wildlife, for instance. If there's a bear in the yard, he lets me know. And when I tell him come in the house when there's a bear, he follows me right away. He comes with me because it's danger. He's stuck on a rope, and he's got no place to go. So if it's a cub and a mother, I grab him right away. And I've had cubs in the yard but couldn't see the mother. I just grab the dog, I bring him in the house, I shut the door, I close the windows until the bears leave. They don't bother us, we don't bother them. The dog does bark. Usually when the dog barks at them, they take off in the bush right away. But I did have a cub underneath my truck for about 3 hours where my dog didn't even get to go inside for a pee that morning. I would have let him pee on the floor because there was no way he was going to be outside with the bear cub and me not visually seeing the mother. So I just grabbed the dog. He was looking at the cub underneath the truck, and he just sat there like pointing like a pointer. And the bear was looking at him. He was looking at the bear. And I just thought, what the hell is he looking at? And then I looked from the window under the truck, and I went, oh shit, there's a bear under my truck. And I ran out, grabbed my dog, in the house now. We came in the house really fast, and no incident. We had a lynx that he chased up the tree, and I couldn't figure out why he kept going after the tree and getting wrapped around the tree. So I'd unwrap him. Well, while I'm unwrapping him for the third time, I finally look up, and there's a lynx this far from my face staring down at me. And I'm like, oh shit, come on, Kaiser. So I grabbed the dog and got him unraveled, brought him in the house. Again, the lynx must have stayed in the tree for another 30, 40 minutes before it would leave because it was scared half to death. My dog just wanted to go. I think my dog just wanted to play with it, but he points and he'll keep them pinned up in a tree. And we can't have that either. So I don't want the wildlife to be injured. I don't want my dog to be injured. And I don't want to get injured. So when I see wildlife in the yard that's larger than me or my dog, unless it's a squirrel or a mouse or a snake or stuff like that, I bring my dog inside and he is not allowed to sleep outside at night because there is wildlife. I respect the wildlife. The wildlife respects me. We have a mutual understanding. They're welcome on my property anytime they want. I do not allow hunting on my property. It's only a 2-acre property, and I've got houses next to me, which I didn't realize how close they were at the time when I bought it. I would have liked something a little more isolated, but I just couldn't find anything at the time that was livable. I had to be able to have a roof over my head while I was doing the build. So we did a big rush in the first I bought it June the 6th, 2022. By November 2022, I had to have hydro in and heat and water, or they would not allow me to live here. So that right there cost me, oh my goodness, it was so much money. About $100,000 to get all of that together, cash up front. Nobody would take payment plans. Nobody had a payment plan. So I had to do the totes. I had to move the propane. They had propane all the way around the whole building. And I guess the last owners were going to run the whole house on propane. And I thought, there's no way. I'll keep it for the stove because I'd rather cook with gas than electric. But outside of that, there's no way. I'm not heating with propane and stuff like that. It isn't going to happen. So we put the wood stove in. I got a pile of wood. Oh my God, it was so much money to get just to do the wood stove with the labor cost, the wet certification, the wood for the winter, the wood shed, the new outhouse. So I had a proper septic, water totes, changing the propane the way they had it set up. That didn't get changed. I had to get it moved because I couldn't get into the shed. I had to insulate the shed. I had to put a food grade container. I had to hook up hoses. I had to hook up pumps. All those supplies and equipment and the labor cost came out to $100,000 in the not even in June, July, August, September, October, November. In 6 months, I had to invest $100,000 into getting this place up and running. And I had to hire contractors because I can't do the work by myself. It's not my line of contracting. I was a chef. I was in the hotel industry, not in the building industry. I do know my safety. I just didn't know the building codes at the time, couldn't get a hold of the book, didn't have internet, didn't have hydro. And I was running on a generator for the whole 6 months at $2,000 a month in gasoline to run on a generator till we had the hydro hooked up. Ridiculous cost to get it up and running and to code so that I could pass to live in here full time. So I'm wondering, how would you have done things had you bought a property like me? If you're an experienced carpenter, that's to your advantage, but you still have to understand electrical. You still have to understand all the building codes, and it depends on what province you're in. Plus, when I bought the property, it was full of garbage, and it cost me, I had to hire people with hazmat suits to clean everything up. It cost me $10,000 in tipping fees and labor cost to clean it up before I could even move to the place on July 6th, because there was that much garbage and contamination here. How would you have done it to buy a property like this? And how would you have saved on cost? For me, I've done everything possible to save on cost that I can think of and did as much work as I can do that I am capable of doing. So tell me, how would you save on cost? Have a nice day. Churan's Tiny Homestead. Bye.